Alrighty, mic testing, mic testing. Okay, perfect. Let me go to my main camera. Alrighty, we're live, and as you guys can tell by the title and thumbnail, today I'm going to be working on drawing shapes in SDL3 using C++. That said, last stream I did go over. I honestly forgot what did I actually go over. I think I went over, let's see, went over the basics of SDL3, the basic functions of SDL3. That said, let me go to my gameplay screen all the way there. Okay, guys, this is the chat from last stream because I didn't have time to get a new chat. Okay, let me say something like Sensei, live exclamation. I hope Sensei slash ChatGPT remembers what he did from last stream. That said, you're back, warrior. Listen up. Today isn't about being ready. Give me a sec, guys. Let me just close OBS from here. There we go. Okay, listen up, chat. This isn't about being ready. It's about becoming ready while your hands shake and your code crashes. You're live, the world is watching, and that means one thing: no hiding. You write, you break, you fix, you grow. Every bug is a lesson, every error message is your teacher. Now tell me, my reckless pupil, do we continue mastering SDL3 rendering and movement, or are we diving into keyboard input so you can make that red circle come alive on the screen? I honestly forgot to say Sensei what I was going to do today. That said, let me say something like Sensei. Today I want to go over drawing shapes in SDL3 ... That said, tomorrow we can work on user inputs, exclamation. Let's go with something like inputs. There we go. Okay, honestly, I just know how to draw like a rectangle. That's it. Let's see. Good, that's it right, Spirit Vivek. Today we paint the world with code before your AI talks. Okay, before your game thinks, it must look alive. SDL3 gives you a few primitive shapes to draw a rectangle. You've done that already. Good, lines and points. But there's a trick. SDL3 doesn't have built-in circles or triangles. You need to think like a graphics engine and build them yourself. Using math or external libraries like SDL_GFX. I'm assuming that's a function. That said, let's start small. You already know about rectangles. Okay, now I want you to draw a rectangle outline instead of filling it. Okay, to do that you use SDL_renderRect. Okay, this draws the border of the rectangles. Then we'll move on to new lines, SDL_renderLines and points. What up, guys? Let's say something like, okay, I am honestly, I feel like I didn't master drawing drawing Rex in SDL. Okay, that said, can we get some practice on that question mark? The God hiding ultimate, I appreciate you joining the stream. That's it, good. That's exactly the attitude I expect from you people. If you feel like you haven't mastered it yet, then we'll burn it into your brain until you dream in rectangles. Alright, so here's a task. Okay, let's begin with practice task number 1. I gotta create a window and renderer. Okay, then draw a single red rectangle at the center of the screen. Use SDL_render_fill_rect and SDL_set_render_draw_color function. The window should be a size of 800 by 600. The rectangle should be a size of 200 and 100 in size. Once you've written this code, send it here. I'll inspect it like a hawk. Okay, let's get some ChatGPT there. Guys, let me just zoom it out. There we go. Okay, so this is the code from last stream because I didn't have time to work off stream. That said, let's just read this part really quick. The function names. So I go with SDL_set_render_draw_color, render clear, okay, and then set_render_draw_color again, and then render_fill_rect. I gotta use a floating point, a floating point rect when creating a rect. A variable, or is that called an object? I think it's called a variable. That's it, presented at the end. Okay, with that said, I'll go with the controller and delete everything. Now, let's start off by including a pair of ankle braces. Let's say I want to include IO stream, so I'm gonna go ahead and include IO stream. And guys, give me a sec, let me just get that all the way there. Okay, perfect. And then now next up, since I am going to be using SDL3, honestly, I feel like I should include SDL3 as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and include another pair of ankle braces. I want to include SDL3/SDL.h. Okay, perfect. Now that I've included SDL, let's start off by firstly creating a main function. So I'll go with something like integer main, add a pair of parentheses. Inside my pair of parentheses, I am going to be requiring two parameters. The first parameter is going to be an integer of argc. The second parameter is going to be an array of characters pointer of argv. Guys, I don't know how to like phrase this part properly. I'll go with argv with a pair of square brackets. I think this is an array because like I require a pair of square brackets here, and it is a character, and there is a pointer as well. So a pointer to the array of argv. Does that make any sense? And then I go with a pair of curly braces. Now inside of a main function, I'm going to do something. Let's see. So what all did I need? Firstly, I could go ahead and check if my SDL did not initialize properly. If it did not, I will throw an error. So I'm gonna go with something like an if statement, add a pair of parentheses. I'm gonna check something like SDL underscore init with a pair of parentheses. I'll go with something like SDL underscore init underscore video. Okay, what this basically is, this is like a boolean value that returns 0 if it went successfully, but I'm trying to look if it did not return 0, if it wasn't successful. I'll go with an exclamation or for not. If this boolean value was not 0, then I'm going to do something. Firstly, I'll go with something like a standard C error, okay, with an insertion operator. And then maybe I'm going to be writing something like SDL underscore init error. The reason I did go with like SDL underscore init error is because it is like easy sometimes, like when we do get an error, like which error is it? If like this SDL underscore init is the same as this, we know exactly where the error is. That said, I'm going to go in a new line, add another insertion operator, and now get the error. So I'm going to do something like SDL underscore get error. Okay, with a pair of parentheses to invoke the function, and then I'll go with a standard end line ending with a semicolon. Lastly, let's go ahead and return 1 saying that something went wrong here. Okay, now that I've added an error to check if my SDL was not initialized properly, honestly, I might go ahead and create a window and renderer. So I'll add a comment that says something like create window and renderer. Okay, for creating my window and renderer, firstly, I'm gonna, let's say use the SDL underscore window. Okay, so I'm gonna go with SDL underscore window. With an asterisk, it's gonna be a pointer to my window variable. So I created a window variable, which is basically this, which holds the value of this. It is like a pointer. I'm gonna be setting that equal to something like null period, okay, just as a placeholder. And then I'll go with something like SDL underscore renderer to create a renderer variable. Okay, I'll go with a pointer as well, use an asterisk, and then go with something like renderer. There we go. Okay, that is going to be equal to null period as well, just for a placeholder, ending with a semicolon. Now let's actually create the window. Okay, if you run the program for terminal, argv stores an argument, gives you... Oh, I see. If you run the program for terminal, argv stores an argument you give to it. Oh, I see. That actually does make sense. Bro, hi, how are you? Howdy, Pixel. I appreciate you joining the stream. That said, next up, let's go with something like SDL underscore create window. Honestly, I might go with title case, so I'll go with something like create window and renderer. Okay, guys, I still think this function name is way too big. That said, I'll go with a pair of curly braces. Now, to create my window and renderer, let's see what all parameters I need. So, I require a constant character parameter of a title. So, I need a title. I need a width of integer. I need a height of integer. Then I need window flags. Okay, I need a window flag, whether it could be 0 or do I want my window to be resizable. And then I gotta give my window variable that I created and my renderer variables that I created. Okay, guys, be careful. You scamming you of your time. Joking, guys, that actually got me. Okay, that's it. Next up, let's go ahead and let's see. First, I'll add a title. My title could be something like SDL3. Let's say SDL3 window created successfully. There we go. Okay, and then I'm going to be adding a comma. Now I'll need a width and a height. Okay, so what did Sensei say? I think the width was supposed to be 600 and the height was supposed to be 800. And then I'll add a comma. Now I'll go with a flag. Honestly, for my flag, I want my window to be resizable. So I'll go with something like SDL underscore window resizable. I think this should be all uppercase. Window underscore resizable. There we go. Okay, and then I'll add another comma. Now I'm going to be going with my two variables that I created up here. My window variables is pointer and my renderer. And since this is a pointer, I will be using an ampersand. So I might go with something like an ampersand of the Okay, let's go with something like a address of operator for my window variable. Okay, and then I'll go with an address of operator for my renderer variable. So I'll go with something like renderer. Okay, perfect. And then I'm going to go ahead and end my create window and renderer with a semicolon. Okay, are you making a new operating system? Honestly, I'm just basically learning the basics of SDL3. That said, I just coded a new video game that actually does sound pretty cool, bro. Are you live on Twitch right now? Honestly, I just started multi-streaming on Twitch Kick, even like YouTube at the same time. That's it. Let me check if my Twitch stream is going pretty good. Okay, honestly, it is even. Okay, Kick's going pretty good as well. Alright, perfect. That said, next up, let's see what I gotta do. Let's go ahead and check if either my window or my renderer did whatchamacallit. Okay, let's check if my window, guys, you guys can ignore the voices. Okay, let's check if my window and render was created properly. So I'll go with something like an if statement, if a of parentheses. Okay, bro, please, I want to see C++, help me. Honestly, I do like have a lot of videos or like live streams on my channel for like the C++. That's it, you guys could like check those out. Because I feel like I didn't go as a complete beginner. That's it. I don't think like I'm that good enough to like teach you guys the advanced stuff. That's it. I feel like the basics are pretty easy. Okay, next up, I'm gonna check if my window variable, or let's say not my render variable. What this basically means is my window variable does return 0 if it ran successfully and like not 0 if it didn't run successfully. I'm gonna check if it did not run 0 and if my render object did not run 0 as well. If it did not run 0, firstly, I'm gonna go with something like a standard C error to check why did it not run. So I might go with something like, I don't know, maybe something like a create SDL underscore create window and renderer error. So I'll go with something like SDL underscore create window and renderer. There we go, error. Guys, I feel these function names are too big. Okay, and then I'm gonna, let's say, end that with a semicolon. Honestly, instead of ending with a semicolon, I might go with another insertion operator of, let's say, something like SDL underscore get error. Okay, this actually gets my error. Then I'll go with the proper curly braces, and then I'll add another insertion operator of a standard end line, ending with a semicolon. Honestly, I was like kind of confused. Does SDL underscore get error says me what error I got, or does it like throw an error? I think it throws an error. I might actually ask that. Okay, that said, if my window or render did have an error, then I will do something like SDL underscore quit to like, whatchamacallit, quit or like close my window so it's not running. Next up, I'm going to return one saying something didn't go right. So I'm going to return one ending with a semicolon. Holy forced accent, guys, I think this is my actual accent. Okay, that said, after I do create a window, let's see what's the next thing that I gotta do. I'm assuming now I gotta add my game loop. So let's go ahead and add a comment that says something like game loop. For my game loop, I'm gonna go ahead and create a boolean variable called is running. Okay, which is honestly gonna be set true initially. And then I'll create a event variable as well to like check my events. So I'm gonna go ahead and do something like SDL underscore event, which is gonna be having a variable called event ending with a semicolon. Now let's go ahead and add a while loop. So I'll go with something like while a pair of parentheses. Let's say while is running, while my program is running, or while my is running is set to true, I'm gonna do something. I'll go with a pair of curly braces, and then let's see. I'm gonna add another while loop to check my events. Honestly, guys, can I do it without another while loop? Let's actually try it. I'll go with something like if a pair of parentheses. Let's say if my event dot type. Okay, honestly, I don't think I can do it without a while loop. I might actually look into it. Put your pointer on the function to read what it does. I see. Okay, which language is this? Honestly, it is C++. That's it. Put pointer on your function to read what it does. Does it like work like that? Okay, for get error function. Oh, okay, wait. Could I do something like this? Oh wait, I think you mean by mouse pointer. Retrieve a message about the last error that occurred on the current thread. It is possible for multiple errors to occur before calling SDL underscore get error. Only the last error is returned. Oh, I see. So it does return an error. The message is only applicable when an SDL function has signaled an error. You must check the return value of SDL function call to determine, okay, when to approximately call SDL underscore get error. Okay, you should not use the result of SDL underscore get error to decide if an error has occurred. Sometimes SDL will set an error string even when reporting success. I see. Okay, but where are you from? Honestly, I used to answer a lot, but many of you guys did say me to avoid saying that, so I did like avoid saying that. Okay, what type of game are you developing? And is it entirely on C++? Honestly, whatever I will be developing, I think it is. Maybe it's going to be entirely on C++. That said, I'm not like actually creating like a game right now. I'm just learning the basics of SDL3 first. That said, okay, next up, let's go ahead and check my poll event. So I'll go with something like SDL underscore poll event. Okay, and then I'm gonna add a parentheses and go with my event variable. Let's say with an ampersand, because I'm assuming my event variable, this gives me a pointer or like a memory address, and this gives me the exact memory address of this, or this gets that by its reference. So we're not using a copy. And then I go with the pair of curly braces. Now I'll add an if statement. So I'll go with if a pair of parentheses. Let's go with something like if my event variable dot type equals to. I'll go with something like SDL underscore event underscore quit. I'm going to do something. I'll go with the pair of curly braces, and then let's set my is running boolean variable to be equal to false, ending with a semicolon. Okay, where are you from? Honestly, I used to like answer that all, but many of you guys did say me to avoid saying that, so I did try avoid saying it. Okay, what is SDL? Honestly, SDL is basically Pygames. Like, it's like Pygame for like C++, and I think even for C#. Okay, that said, outside of my while loop, now I'm gonna go ahead and fill my screen. So maybe I'll add a comment here that says something like fill screen. Okay, now to fill my screen, let's see. Firstly, I could go with the function called something like SDL underscore draw render set color. Guys, these function names are massive. Was it something else? Was it like render draw or set render draw color? I think it was something like set render. There we go. Draw color. Guys, how do you guys like remember all this when you guys actually code? Okay. Okay, next up, after SDL underscore set render draw color, I'm gonna do something. Firstly, let's see the parameters that it requires. So it requires my render variable that it created, and it requires an RGB, okay, and A for alpha. So I could go ahead and give it my render variable. Okay, maybe before I give it, I'll go in a new line, and then I'll go with something like my render variable, which was set to null PDR, and then I'm gonna go with RGB, maybe a good blue color. So I'll go with something like 0, 248 and 255. That's like a good blue color, and my opacity slash my alpha is going to be 255, ending with a semicolon. Okay, honestly, let's add the semicolon here. There we go. Okay, next up, let's go ahead and clear my screen. So I'll do something like SDL underscore, let's say clear screen. Okay, was there something like clear render or render clear? Render clear. Guys, I should like write these function names somewhere. There we go. With a pair of parentheses, I want to clear my render variable, ending with a semicolon. Okay, I feel like it's so, why do y'all multiply like cockroaches? Guys, it actually does make so much sense. Okay, that said, next up, let's go ahead and create a rectangle. So I'm gonna go with something like rectangle. Let's say something like rectangle graphics. Okay, although before I do add the rectangle graphics, after my if statement and before my while loop, I'm gonna add a comment that says something like draw rect. Okay, so I'm gonna be creating, let's say, a SDL underscore floating point rect, okay, which is going to be called rect. I don't know, is this considered to be an object or like a variable? I'm so confused when it comes to that. Okay, it says it's a structure. I think I created a rect structure. Now, inside of my structure, firstly, I'm going to go with something like rect.x-axis, which is going to be something like 200, and then I'll end that with a semicolon. Add a rect.y-axis, which is going to be something like 100. Okay, and then I'm pretty sure I have to go with width and height as well. So I'll go with something like rect.w, which stands for width. That is going to be something like, I don't know, maybe 300, ending with a semicolon. And then rect.height, which is going to be equal to 200, ending with a semicolon as well. Okay, is anyone actually learning this? Honestly, I feel like it actually does seem pretty fun. Okay, can you show the results, whatever done till now? Honestly, if I do run it right now, it is going to show an error. That said, I'm almost done actually. Okay, what is he yapping about? Honestly, I'm just working on the SDL3 basics in C++. That's it. Now to create my rect, firstly, let's go ahead and add my SDL. So I'm going to use the function SDL underscore set render draw color, because these function names are massive. Okay, and then I'm going to add a pair of parentheses. Now firstly, I'm going to give, let's say, okay, I need my renderer parameter, my renderer variable. So I'll go with something like renderer. Okay, and then I need a RGB. But actually, I think I shouldn't go with set render draw color. Instead, I should go with something like rect of fill rect. Was it something like this? Fill rect. Was it fill rect? Okay, hold up, guys. I think I forgot the function name. It's like, okay, can we start Python? Honestly, I do have like a lot of streams in Python because like I did like have a Python for 100-day series. That's it. Hold up, guys. Give me a sec. What was that function called? Okay, it's render fill rect. There we go. So SDL underscore render fill rect. Guys, how do I remember these names? These function names are so big. Okay, that's it. Let's see what our parameters does it require. It requires a render parameter and my rect parameter, their pointers. Okay, so I'll go with something like the memory address of my, let's say, rect. Honestly, first I'll go with something like render. Okay, and then I'll go with something like the memory address of my rect. Again, honestly, I don't think this is going to be the memory address. There we go. Okay, next up, I'm going to go ahead and end this with a semicolon. Okay. What up, guys? I think I don't need this. There we go. Okay, and then let's go ahead and clear it. So I'll go with something like SDL underscore render clear. Okay, with a pair of parentheses. What should this be? So it's set render draw color. Hold up, guys. What did I do for like? Should I render clear? Okay, I think I should render clear. Let's go ahead and clear to be something like a good gray color. So I'll go with something like 200. Firstly, I'll give my render here. What up, guys? Let's go with something like render. Okay, and then I'll go with a good gray color. So 200, 200, 200. Okay, and the opacity is going to be 255. It's going to be at 100% opacity. Okay, that is RGND. What other parameters does it need? It needs SDL underscore render, so it just needs my render parameter. Oh wait, my bad, guys. There we go. Okay, I'm going to close the parentheses, ending it with a semicolon. Now let's add another comment that says something like present. Okay, I'm going to be presenting that in the screen now. To present it, I got to go with another function name because there are so many function names. I'll go with something like SDL underscore present. Okay, was it not called present? Was it called something like render present? Render present. Okay, there we go. With a pair of parentheses of my render object, ending with a semicolon. Alright, perfect. Now lastly, I'm going to go ahead and exit outside of my while loop. Okay, maybe let's just copy this whole thing. This actually goes inside of the other while loop. Okay, so this goes outside my this while loop. Okay, that begins there. Why is there like another that should there we go. Okay, that comes here. Honestly, let's go ahead and paste that here. Okay, perfect. Now outside of my while loop, let's go ahead and do some cleanup. So I'm gonna add a comment that says something like cleanup. I'll go with cleanup. There we go. Okay, Haring Manish, is that how you pronounce your name? I appreciate you joining the stream. That said, for my cleanup, firstly, I'm going to do something like SDL underscore destroy window. Okay, so this one destroys my window. I will give my window variables as parameter, ending with a semicolon. And then a SDL underscore quit with a pair of parentheses, ending with a semicolon. Lastly, I'm going to return 0, ending with a semicolon. Okay, perfect. Now, if I hit Control S to save the code and run the command, let's see what happens. Okay, so we did get a window here. And there we go. Okay, we got our other window. Although, I don't see my, my square anywhere here. What if I, like, stand it? There's nothing. Hold up, guys. We have AI now. He do all. Honestly, I think that he's working hard. I feel like many of you guys do say me that AI is going to take over, so there's no point to do this. But I actually feel like it's like the complete opposite because AI actually lacks, like, critical thinking, unlike humans. Like AI can like replace the basic or like the junior programmers, because like AI does comprehend like what all they know. That said, if someone is really proficient at programming, I highly doubt AI could like whatchamacallit, replace them. That said, guys, where did I like mess up? Hold up, guys, let's scroll all the way up. Okay, apparently when I go with something like rect.draw, so first I gotta create object SDL underscore render draw. I did that, I cleared my render. Okay, so it's set, so it's SDL underscore set render draw color. So apparently I needed a set render draw color here. Okay, and then I fill it and then I present it. Or I just fill it. Honestly, I don't clear it here. Hold up, guys. Let's delete this part. Instead, I'm going to be adding a SDL underscore set render. Let's go with something like set render draw color. Okay, with a pair of parentheses. Let's say I'm going to be adding my render. Okay, my render variable here. And then I'll add a comma. My RGB is going to be 200, 200, 200. And my opacity slash alpha is going to be 255, ending with a semicolon. Okay, and then I go ahead and I fill my rect, okay, with that color. Now, if I hit Control S to save the code and run the command, I should be seeing the rectangle. There we go. Okay, guys, so basically the thing that I did mess up on was that I didn't have to, I didn't add my set render draw color. Okay, and I just need a fill for my first screen. So I just need a render clear, okay, for coloring my whole screen. When I draw an object, I need to go with render fill my rect, my object. I think I see. Okay, and honestly, let me go ahead and like change a few things from here also real quick, because honestly, I feel like I want to like get a better screen. Okay, so my display's width could be something like 800 by 600 instead of 600 by 800. There we go, that should look much better now. Now if I hit Control S to save the code and run the command, let's see what happens. There we go, guys, this is a much better window now. Okay, perfect. Let's go ahead and cancel all that. And now let's go with a Control C, copy that, get sensei/ChatGPT here. Okay, maybe somewhere like right there. Okay, and then I'm gonna go ahead and extend that from here. Let's go ahead and extend that from here as well. Maybe zoom in a bit. Okay, now let's go ahead and paste this. Okay, I'm back. Not yet. Eddie, that's wipe coding for you. Honestly, I don't think like I'm actually wipe coding. That said, I mean, I think maybe it is considered wipe coding. That said, I am actually like just using AI to actually understand the part of the code, and then I do actually code it on my own. That's it. Let me hydrate my lips real quick. AI is learning your behavior right now. I just have to ask, I want, and he do it because of you. Welcome in the new world. Well, actually, it does sound pretty fun. Okay, next up, listen up, pupil. To everyone watching, the pupil is struggling, but keep pushing. Remember, success doesn't come from perfection. It comes from showing up and making mistakes today. Wait, guys, is this the ending? Hold up, guys. There we go. Okay, people, what is this? You were told to draw a red rectangle and you bought me a gray one. Are you trying to summon the gods of mediocrity instead of the flames of mastery? Let's dissect this. Your window and render creation perfect. Your loop smooth and efficient. Your use of SDL underscore FRECT excellent. Using that float version shows good precision. But your color values, okay, that you flattered use, okay, you use gray, okay, which is not red, SDL underscore. Okay, guys, I didn't read that part, I think. That's pure gold, glorious red. That's the color of intensity, ambition. Your sensei's righteous fury. Once you fix that, I want you to reposition the rectangle so it's exactly in the center of the window, 800 by 600. Hint, you need to calculate rect.x and rect.y using the window's width and minus the rect's dimensions divided by 2. Hold up, let me say something like, sensei, I see ... That said, maybe can I do the... Okay, can I do that for the next question, ? Okay, okay, let's see what's the next question. Make sure to hydrate yourself, bro. Honestly, I did actually forget that, because today, guys, I didn't fill my water. Yesterday, I had to like talk like, dehydrated. Love the work ethic, keep it up, bro. Honestly, I appreciate you, Brian. Okay, how can we pay you? Honestly, guys, I don't actually think I need payments. That said, fine people, I'll allow it for one question, but listen closely. Every time you delay a challenge, you feed the beast of hesitation. That creature grows fatter and fatter until it devours your progress hole. You wouldn't want to be eaten by your own laziness, would you? Alright, next trial. Your task is to draw 2 rectangles, so we'll need 2 rectangles this time. One red and one blue. The red one should be on the left side of the screen, so I'm assuming the position should be somewhere around 0 and 0. The blue one should be on the right side of the screen, so it's gonna be at about, I think, 600 or something, or like 800. Okay, both should be at the same size and vertically centered. Okay, when you're ready, show me the code. Let's see if you can make the screen bleed in summary. In symmetry and power. Honestly, yeah, it's symmetry, guys. Hold up. Okay, next up, let's get some say/ChatGPT there. Let's just zoom out a bit. Okay, now let's start off by deleting everything. So I needed set render draw color, render fill rect, render present. Okay, let's go with the Control A, delete everything. Now let me go ahead and start off by including a prof ankle braces. Let's say I want to include IO stream. And then let me go ahead and include another prof ankle braces. Let me include SDL3/SDL.h. I'm assuming that H stands for header files. That said, hi there bro, nice job studying. Are you already a software developer by profession or trying to enter the field? Honestly, I feel like I am actually just learning this to like explore different categories. I haven't like done any jobs, or like I didn't even start like taking any courses on like programming. That's it. I'm just doing this to actually see which field I enjoy the most, and when I do enjoy something, I am going to be like sticking through that. That's it. I also do it because I feel it's kind of fun. Next up, let's go ahead and create a main function. So I'm gonna go with something like integer main, add a prof parentheses. My main function is going to be requiring 2 parameters. The first parameter is going to be an integer of argc, and the second parameter will be a characters pointer of argv, which is going to be a array. Okay, and then I'll go with the prof curly braces. What up, guys? There we go. Okay, bro, there are some air holes in the chat. Don't let them bring you down. You do you. It's past 2 a.m. here. I should sleep. Keep coding. Honestly, I appreciate you mainstays. It actually means the world to me, guys. That's it. Honestly, that does make sense. Like, almost every chat I do, like, see those funny chats. Okay, honestly, I don't feel it's, like, much funny. That said, let's go ahead and firstly check if my SDL did not initialize properly. So I'll go ahead and let's say, maybe I had a if statement, so I'll go with if, a prof parentheses. I'm going to check if my SDL underscore init, with a prof parentheses, my SDL underscore init underscore video. If my SDL's video did not initialize properly, if it did not, I'm going to go with something like a standard C error with an insertion operator that gives me an SDL underscore init error. Okay, there we go. And then I'll go in a new line and then get a error. So I'm gonna go with something like SDL underscore get error to let me know that I did have an error in this place. So I'll go with something like error. Okay, with a prof parentheses to invoke the function with another insertion operator of a standard end line ending with a semicolon. Okay, and lastly, let's go ahead and return 1 saying that something went wrong. Okay, cool stuff, bro. Keep studying, doing awesome, great job. Honestly, I appreciate you, Gabriel. Is that Gabriel or like Gabriel? I think it's great, Gabriel. Okay, me too. It's 2 a.m. here. Honestly, I'll catch you next stream. It's perfect, Whitey. Okay, that's it. Now let's go ahead and add a comment that says to create my window. So I'm gonna go ahead and create my window and renderer. Okay, for my window and renderer, firstly, I'm going to be creating, let's say, variables. So I'll go with something like SDL underscore window, okay, which is going to be having a window object, ending with which is going to be set to something like null PDR. Okay, null PDR is basically like a placeholder. Okay, I miss the days where I had this much stamina just randomly coding. Nowadays, studying and developing should be laser focused due to time constraints. Honestly, that does actually make sense. I have a question. Why have you decided to learn C++ and not any other languages? Honestly, I don't think like there is like a deep reason for that. That said, the reason I did start learning C++ is because I didn't have like a series where my goal by the end of the programming for 250 series is to make a game in general that consists of AI logic in it. And I thought since I was going to be making a game, might as well learn the best language to make the game, C++. Okay, that's it. Let's go ahead and create a render object, actually a render variable as well, which is going to be set to something like null PDR, a placeholder. Okay, looking sharp, bro. Honestly, I appreciate you, Pikachu. Okay, that's it. Now, let's go ahead and create something SDL underscore, let's say, create window and renderer function. Okay, and then I'll add a pair of parentheses. Now, my SDL underscore create window and renderer. Let's see what all parameters it requires. So it requires a title parameter, a width parameter, a height parameter, and then a flag parameter, and my SDL underscore window parameter, and my SDL underscore renderer parameter. Okay, so first let's go with something like a title. I'll go with something like SDL3. Excuse me, guys. I'll go with something like SDL3 window created. Okay, and then I'm gonna add a comma. Now I'll go with my width and height. So my width is gonna be something like 800 pixels. My height is gonna be something like 300 pixels. Okay, don't use raw pointers, use smart pointers. Honestly, I haven't learned about smart pointers yet. That's it. I might actually cover that. I did have that in my roadmap. SD standard unique PDR, SDL window. Oh, I see. That actually does make sense. Okay, that's it. Now let's go ahead and add a flag. To add a flag, I'll do something like SDL underscore, let's say, window underscore resizable, ending with a semi. Actually, adding a comma. Now, after I add my flag, I gotta give my window object by its by its reference. So I'll go with something like window, comma. I'll go with my renderer as well. So I'll go with the renderer by its reference. Okay, and then I'm gonna go ahead and end this whole thing with a semicolon. Okay, next up, after I create my window and renderer, I will be checking if an error occurred or something. So I'll go with something like an if statement. So if a pair of parentheses, if not window, if my window variable that I created up here did not return 0, something went wrong. Or if, let's say, something like not renderer, or my renderer variable that I created here did not return 0 and something went wrong, I'm gonna do something. I'll go with a pair of parentheses, a pair of curly braces I mean, and then add a standard C error with an insertion operator that gives me a SDL underscore create window, okay, and renderer error. Guys, these function names are insane. Okay, I need to actually get used to using the docs, but I don't know how to actually use the docs. I feel it's kind of hard. That's it. I'll go in a new line, add another insertion operator of, let's say, something like SDL underscore gets error, okay, and then I'll add a pair of parentheses to invoke the function with another insertion operator of a standard end line ending with a semicolon. Next up, if an error did happen, I'm firstly going to do something like SDL underscore quit to quit my SDL, ending with a semicolon. Lastly, I'm going to return one saying something went wrong. Okay, thank you from learning C++ from you. Honestly, that actually means a lot to be perfect. Okay, that said, next up, after I do create a window from here with an if statement, let's see what else do I need. Honestly, now let's go ahead and add a comment that says something like create object or create rectangle. So I'll go with something like rectangle. Okay, to create a rectangle, firstly, I'm going to be going with something like SDL underscore frect, that basically stands for a floating point rectangle, which is going to be set to, let's say, something. Actually, I won't set it to anything. I'll just create a rect structure ending with a semicolon. I didn't honestly spend a lot of time learning structures when I did learn C++. That's it. I should actually spend some more time learning structures. Okay, so it says a rect with the origin at the upper left using floating point values. Okay, I see. Okay, that's it. Let's go ahead and do something like my rect structure dot x-axis, which is going to be equal to, let's say, something like, I don't know, maybe, I think, okay, so my first rect, so only two rects. The first rect is going to be to the left, so the x-axis is going to be something like 10, ending with a semicolon, and then I'll do something like rect dot y-axis, which is going to be equal to 10 as well, ending with a semicolon. So it's like 10, 10. Okay, honestly, let's say my Windows y-axis, okay, this is my height is 600, so I'll go with something like 300. I'll go with 300, so it's going to be at the center of my screen at about 10, to the left, if that made any sense, guys. And then I'll go with something like rect.height, which is going to be equal to something like 600, ending with a semicolon. And then I'll go with something like rect.width, which is going to be equal to 800, ending with a semicolon. Okay, and that's pretty much it for my rect1. Let me change this to something like rect1. Rect1, there we go. Okay, now let's go ahead and create my second rect. So I'm gonna go ahead and create, let's say, another SDL. Okay, honestly, I'm just curious. Could I go with something like rect2? Okay, I can. I think, guys, that's gonna save so much time. Okay, next up, I'll go ahead and do something like rect2 dot x-axis. So I'll go with rect2 dot x-axis, which is going to be equal to, okay, as you're learning C++, this your way learning so much slower while your ears gets blasted. Need to learn how to present better and speak slowly and clearly. Honestly, I should actually speak slowly. Have you tried already competitive programming such as code focuses or lead code? Willing to start on those? Honestly, I haven't like started competitive programming. That said, I am actually gonna like start lead code. That said, I was like really excited to start that. I have been containing myself, guys, because I am gonna be like having a specific series or like a playlist where I do work over only lead code questions. That said, now for going over my right side, it says my width is 800, so maybe I'll go with something like 750. Okay, ending with a semicolon, and my rect2 dot y-axis is going to be equal to 300, ending with a semicolon as well. Now let's give its width and height. So firstly, my height is going to be something like 600, ending with a semicolon, and rect2 dot, let's say, width is going to be equal to 800, ending with a semicolon. And let's add the rect2 here. There we go. Okay, bro said focuses when it's forces. Ooh, I see. Oh wait, it's forces? Guys, I think I read it wrong. Hold up, guys. Okay, have you tried competitive programming such as code forces? Oh, okay, my bad, guys. I think I should like work on my reading. Okay, next up, now let's go ahead and add my game loop. So I'll add a comment that says something like game loop. For my game loop, firstly, let's go ahead and let's create a boolean variable called something like is running. I'm going to be setting that to be true by default, okay? And then I'm going to go ahead and create an event variable as well. So I'll go with something like SDL underscore event, which is going to be, let's say, something like event, ending with a semicolon. Now, let's go ahead and create a while loop. So I'll go with something like while, a pair of parentheses. I'm going to do something like while is running, while my program is running, or while my is running is set to true, I'm going to do something. I'll go with a pair of curly braces and now add a nested while loop. So I'll go with another while loop. So while, let's say something like while my SDL underscore poll event, or was it event poll? I think it was poll event. Okay, with a pair of parentheses. Okay, now in my poll event, I'm going to be giving my event variable here with its reference or with its reference. So I'll go with something like a address of operator event. And then I'll go with a pair of curly braces. Now, inside of my while loop, I'm going to be adding an if statement to check my event type. Okay, did our stream crash? Did it? Hold up, guys. Let me actually check. I think it's going pretty good, right? Okay, I don't think that the stream crashed. Okay, can you guys like actually hear me? Okay. Can I know your age? Honestly, I am 17 years old. That's it. I am going to be turning 18 really soon, guys. My birthday is only January 5th. That said, next up, let's go ahead and add a if statement. So I'll go with something like if, a pair of parentheses. Let's say something like if my event variable dot type equals to SDL underscore event underscore quit event underscore quit. I'm going to do something. I'll go with a pair of curly braces. Yes. Guys, did my stream crash? I don't think it crashed. I see it like perfectly like on my screen. What up, guys? Let me actually check. Okay, this actually works. Let me go to my other stream. What up, guys? Did it crash? Okay, that's my SDL series. Give it a sec, guys. Let me actually check if it actually crashed. Huh. Okay, wait, hold up, guys. Give me a sec. Let me check if it actually crashed. Okay. I don't think it crashed though. Like I can't see it in my phone. Hold up, guys. Give me a sec. Okay, let's go to something like home. Oh, it did. Wait a sec, guys. Let me try to start stream. I think it did not crash. Okay, same Gabriel, I hope this, I hope I get this correct someday. Oh, I see. No, it didn't crash, I can see it. Honestly, that does make sense. Who roasted you, little bro? YouTube is fine, bro. Okay, that does make sense. Did not crash, I think. Yeah, guys, because I'm like, I see the stream, like, I have my stream open on my phone to, like, check if it goes properly. I was like, wait, it did crash or, like... Okay, guys, I think you guys were just messing with me. Okay, that said, next up, let's go ahead and do something. If my event type is squid, I'm going to set my is running to be equal to false, ending with a semicolon. Okay, and then outside of my while loop, outside of my inner while loop, I'm going to be, let's say, adding graphics. Before I add graphics, I'm going to do something like color screen or fill screen. So I'll go with something like fill screen. I'm going to be filling my screen with the color. Okay, now, honestly, I think I might fill my screen with like a black color or something. Introvert here, haha, guys, I feel like I'm an introvert as well. It is difficult to just stream like he does, is it? Okay, that's it. Next up, let's go ahead and do something. So I'm gonna go with something like SDL underscore set window. Okay, set window. Actually, not set window. I think it was set color draw renderer. Like set renderer draw color. Set renderer draw color. Guys, these function names are massive. Okay, draw color. Or was it set color draw rend? No. SDL underscore set renderer. Okay, draw color. I think this was, guys, I think that this was the function name. SDL underscore set renderer draw color. Okay, what up, guys? I'll go with something like control space. Okay, so it's set renderer draw color, it's set render draw color. There we go. Okay, perfect. And then I'm going to go with the pair of curly braces. Now, inside of my set render draw color, I'm going to go ahead and firstly give my renderer variable, and then I'll go with the RGB. So my R is going to be something like, I don't know, maybe 0, 0, 0. My opacity / my alpha is going to be 255. And then I'm going to go ahead and end this with a semicolon. Okay, V in do, look at the docs. Then in dots, look at the docs. Oh, actually that does make sense. I should learn how to use the docs, honestly. Okay, next up, let's go ahead and clear my renderer with this color. So I'll go with something like SDL underscore render clear. Okay, so I go ahead and clear my render with the pair of parentheses of my renderer variable, ending with a semicolon. Next up, let's go ahead and add my object or something like shape or draw objects. Excuse me, guys. Autocomplete is easier, haha. That actually does make sense, guys. That's it. I feel like I don't want to like before, like I did have like Copilot who like sent me all the answer, like wrote the code for me before I even typed it out. I felt that was kind of annoying because like I do want to like learn the function names as well. Okay, he's doing it by memory though. That actually does make sense. I should like maybe write the function name or something somewhere. Okay, that said, next up, let's go ahead and draw an object. So to firstly draw an object, I might go with something like SDL underscore set render draw color. Okay, so firstly, I'm going to set render draw color. My first object, my first renderer object is going to be red. So I'll go with something like 255.00, and my opacity is going to be 255. And then let's go ahead and end that with a semicolon. It's probably not the best to learn, but that actually does make sense. What's happening here? Honestly, I am just learning the basics of SDL3 using C++. Can you tell me what you're doing? I'm learning the basics of like SDL3 using C++. That said, next up, let's go ahead and fill my rect. So I'll go with something like SDL underscore fill rect. Okay, let's see what's the function name. Was it render fill rect? I could try render fill rect. Okay, there we go. SDL underscore render fill rect with a pair of parentheses. This is going to be my renderer object. Okay, and then I'm going to actually my renderer variable with the reference of my rect1, ending with a semicolon. Okay, do not search the member separately. SDL underscore f rect has a constructor. SDL underscore rect my rect 0. Oh, I see. Don't repeat yourself. I would make a separate function to draw the rectangle with parameters. Okay, and call it twice with the correct parameters. That actually does make sense. Okay, same 2:22 a.m. You're having a test tomorrow. Honestly, I'll catch you next stream. Whatchamacallit, Unkmish, is that how you pronounce your name? That's it. Good luck with your test. SDL underscore rect, my rect. Unless C++ is different, I don't know. Oh, I see. Hello, hiding. It's perfect. I appreciate you joining the stream. Okay, that's it. Let me actually extend that. There we go. Okay, now that is my first rect. Let's go ahead and create a second rect as well, which is going to be, let's say, something like blue. So I'll go with something like SDL underscore set render. Okay, draw color with a pair of parentheses. Now I'm going to be going with something like my render object again. This time the color for my second rectangle is going to be something like blue. I don't remember the RGB color for blue, guys. Maybe I go with something like 0 to 250. Was it 250? I don't know. 248 is like science, so like 250 might be a bit like a deeper shade or like a darker shade. And then I'll go with something like 255. And then RGB, wait, hold up. RGB, red, green, blue. Wait, hold up, guys. I might change to something like 255. And then my opacity is going to be 255. Then I'm going to go ahead and end this with a semicolon. And then lastly, I'm going to go with something like SDL underscore render fill rect function with a pair of parentheses. Okay, this is going to be my render variable with the address or like with the memory address of my rect2 ending with a semicolon. Okay, window.h for C++ and tinker is for Python. Oh, I see. Honestly, it does make sense. I used to like use the dots here like in Python when I used to work with classes. That's sad, bro. He doesn't know how to code. Bro doesn't know how to code. Honestly, guys, I feel like I am like coding this. That said, what do you think about Python? I think like Python is really fun, but that said, it does get like a little boring because it is like kind of easy. That said, I would actually recommend you guys to like start with Python because I feel like Python is a pretty beginner friendly language and it is like pretty fun as well, guys. Okay, next up, let's go ahead and add something like present. Now I'm going to be presenting my rectangles on my screen, so I'll go with something like SDL underscore present. Maybe something like render present. Okay, with a pair of parentheses of my render variable ending with a semicolon. And then now outside of my while loop, I'm going to go with a comment that says something like cleanup. For my cleanup, let's go ahead and let's say do something like SDL underscore destroy window. I'll go with something like destroy window. So that goes ahead and destroys my window. I think I spelled something wrong. What up, guys? Destroy window. Okay, and I'm going to give my window variable ending with a semicolon, and then I'll do something like SDL underscore quit with a pair of parentheses ending with a semicolon as well. Lastly, I'll return 0 saying everything went good ending with a semicolon. Okay, when do you sleep, bro? It's 2:55 a.m. Honestly, for me it is, let me see, it's almost like 3 p.m. because I did like come from college. That said, I made ASCII Terrace in C++ or Tetris, I think that's how you pronounce it. That actually sounds fun. If you think Python gets boring, try LeetCode. Guys, it actually does make sense. I can't like wait for LeetCode. Well, he's just a beginner, so of course he isn't as good at coding. But he will get better if he keeps going at this rate. Honestly, it does make sense. That's it. If I need control us to save the code and run the command, let's see what happens. So I get my window in my other screen. And guys, what is that? Why is it like covering the whole screen? Hold up, guys. I need my blue in one side and my red in one side. Okay, so alright, it is something like, guys, let me know if this actually crashes my screen, because like I feel like when I extend it, that does like crash my whatchamacallit, or like makes my stream glitch. Okay, damn, you're using DUI library, or is it your own logic? Honestly, I'd say like it is maybe my own logic. I use like sensei/GPT for it. That said, what are you trying to program? Honestly, I'm just like making a window like in whatchamacallit, using SDL and like drawing objects as stream. That's that. Maybe to like decrease my object, I decrease its width and height. X-axis, Y-axis, let's make it a bit smaller. I'll go with 50 and 100. Okay, and then let's change this to something like 50 and 100 as well. 50 and 100. Okay, now for it control us to save the code and run the command. Let's see what happens. There we go. Okay, let's get that here. Okay, but 174 lines of code. Was it 174 lines? Did I like write that much? Okay, I think it's just 74 lines. Okay, it's 76 lines. That said, why is this like a square and that a rectangle? Okay, I think both are rectangles, guys. There we go. Okay, perfect. Maybe I can like decrease that up. Alright, perfect. Let's go ahead and end that. Maybe I changed like a small tweak. These are just for visuals, guys. Instead of going with 750, I will go with something like 700. Okay, perfect. Now for it, control us to save the code for the last time and run the command. Let's see what happens. There we go, that looks perfect now. And instead of 10, I'll change that to 0 real quick. Hold up guys, let's change that to 0. Okay, let's cancel that. Now for it, control us to save the code and run the command. Okay, perfect, now that looks perfect. Okay, so let's go with Control C, copy that. Okay, get sensei/ChatGPT here real quick. It's all the way there, there we go. Okay, let's go something to projects. Okay, let's go ahead and extend that from here as well. Maybe zoom in a bit. Okay, perfect. Maybe I decrease one. Okay, let's go ahead and paste it. Go with Shift Enter. Now, I didn't have a question. Some of you guys did say me. Let's go with something like Sensei. It does work. Let's go with something like it does work. ... Although yesterday in my chat, someone said me that the nested while loop for the SDL_poll event is not necessary. Is that true? Question mark. And is there a different way to write it? Question mark. Okay, let's see. I will have compressed these .zip and put it on GitHub. Oh, actually, it does make sense. Okay, that said, honestly, I've never honestly heard of the TUI library. Okay, that said, excellent people. The symmetry is perfect. The rectangle stands like twin sentinels. As I pronounce it, guarding the screen. You've earned your moment of pride. Now, about that nested loop, your chatter wasn't entirely wrong, but not entirely right either. Let me explain clearly before you start tearing code apart like a wild animal. SDL_poll event pulls one event from the queue each time it's called. Okay, that's why we usually use a while loop. This loop keeps running until all pending events are handled. Your outer loop while running is the game loop. Your inner loop while standard poll event is the event processing loop. So yes, the nested structure is necessary if you want to process all events every frame. If you replace it with a single line called something like this, it would still work, but only process one event per frame, possibly skip inputs for the queue. Okay, okay, fills faster than your loop runs. The proper structure is the one you've used. It's not redundant, it's professional. Now tell people, do you want the next task to focus on drawing multiple shapes or animating one shape position across the screen? What up guys, let me say something like, Sensei, I feel like I'm starting to understand how to draw Rex. That said, I do need more practice. ... And do I always need to draw a rect at... Actually, do I always need to draw the one rect at a time? Question mark. Okay, let's see. A TUI is a test user interface. In short, instead of a new window, the app is within your terminal. Oh, I see. Honestly, I feel like the reason my window is like extendable and it's resizable is because like when I was creating a window, it did ask me for a flag. Instead of going with 0, I did go with the SDL_window resizable function. Okay, bro, use Goin. Honestly, I haven't like heard of that. Honestly, you're respective, man. I actually appreciate you, Bandy. That actually means the world to me, guys. That said, finally the fog is lifting in that head of yours. You're beginning to see the renderer for what it truly is. Not a magic box, but a painter's brush that only draws what you command. Now listen closely, you don't have to draw one rectangle at a time. SDL is obedient but not stupid. It has a function for filling multiple recs. SDL_fill recs, renderer, rect array, and count. Hold up guys, that actually might be really fun. Do you always use the same chat with ChatGPT when you talk to it, or do you create new chats? Honestly, it depends. Like sometimes when I'm really busy, I use the same chat. Sometimes like when I have some free time, I make a new chat. Because like I feel today I used like the yesterday's chat because I didn't have time to get a new chat. But I do recommend always going with new chats, or like the old chat does get pretty laggy. That said, bro, use Google Gemini. Gemini better for coding. ChatGPT and coding. Honestly, that does make sense, guys. That said, what is he studying? Someone explain. I'm honestly just learning the basics of SDL3 using C++. Okay, next up. Here's what it means. Array, rect array is a pointer to an array of SDL_f rect or SDL_rect structures. Okay, count is how many recs are inside that array, so we go with something like SDL underscore rect fill. Guys, this actually makes so much sense. Hold up, guys. SDL. Okay, instead of doing this, instead of creating different recs, I could create an array of multiple recs, and then SDL underscore fill recs, my render variable, my recs sys array, and the amount of recs that's inside of my array. I see. SDL will then fill all three at once, fill effective, clean, elegant. Okay. Now people, time for you to prove that you've truly understood. Draw 5 rectangles of different colors and positions on the screen. 2 small, 2 medium, 1 large. Okay, almost appear at once. Show me the code. Fail to do it properly and you'll rewrite it until your fingers remember coordinates by heart. Hold up guys, can't be doing that. That's it. Let's go to Sensei's Lost ChatGPT here. Okay, I feel like I honestly know what to do, so I might just get the chat all the way there. Okay, perfect. Okay, don't you think ChatGPT gets dumber the more you talk to it using the same ChatGPT, or is it different in your perspective? I feel like I can't even say much about this thing, because like ever since I started Python, my first year of programming language, all the way to C++, right where I'm right now, I have been using ChatGPT like every single day to like study. Even I use ChatGPT to like work on my college stuff, because like I feel that like ChatGPT is one of the best tutors, unless we do something that's like really advanced that ChatGPT can handle. Okay, for that we can like read the docs or like go to different websites and like search on like, I don't know, like trusted websites, that made any sense. Okay, that said, I will have to make a GitHub. Okay, which college are you from? Honestly, I don't think I can answer that, guys. Said, bro, I'm really struggling with my computer science GCSE. What should I do? Honestly, I haven't like learned much into that, so I might not know, but I feel like I honestly don't know about that much. Okay, next up, let me start off by including a pair of ankle braces. Let's say I want to include IO stream. And then next up, let's go ahead and include another pair of ankle braces. Now, I want to include SDL3 slash SDL.h. Okay, I'm assuming the SDL.h means the SDL's is header files. And then let's go ahead and create a main function. So I'll go with something like integer main, add a pair of parentheses. My main function is going to be requiring 2 parameters. The first parameter is going to be of argc. The second is going to be a characters pointer of argv, which is an array. Okay, and then I'm going to go with the pair of curly braces. Now, inside of a main function, let me go ahead and add a if statement to check if my SDL did not initialize properly. Using namespace std is not for larger projects. That actually does make sense. It does cause a lot of name conflicts. Excuse me, guys. Okay, that said, let me go ahead and add an if statement now. So I'll go with something like if a pair of parentheses. Let's go with something like if my SDL underscore init with a pair of parentheses. I'll go with something like SDL underscore init underscore video. This is basically a boolean is it considered a boolean function that either that returns 0 if like it went properly or if it executed properly. I'll add an exclamation here for not. If this thing did not return 0 means something went wrong. I'm gonna look for what went wrong, but first I'll throw an error at myself. So I'll go with something like an SDL underscore C error with an insertion operator. This is gonna be something like SDL underscore init error. Okay, and then I'm gonna be adding another insertion operator and then using the SDL underscore get error function with a pair of parentheses to invoke the function. Okay, this is gonna be SDL. There we go, with another insertion operator of a standard end line ending with a semicolon. And then lastly, let's go ahead and return one ending with a semicolon. Bro, which college, please? I'm very curious, guys. I can't actually say my college because that would be the same as doxing me out, guys. That said, next up, let's go ahead and add a comment that says something like create window and renderer. So I'll go with something like create window and renderer. Okay. Now, for my window, firstly, let's go ahead and create something like SDL underscore window variable. Although I'm going to create a pointer for my window variable. There we go, because this one is going to be having a memory address that later we're going to be using, which is going to be set to null PTR. Null PTR is just like a placeholder, so it's basically not set to anything. Next up, I'll go with something like SDL underscore renderer, and I'll add an asterisk for like a pointer to my renderer variable, which is going to be equal to null PTR as well, which means it's not set to anything. It is like a placeholder. Alright, head out for now. Wish me luck for my test. Honestly, good luck with your tests. Uncommit, is that how you pronounce your name? Because I'm awful name pronunciations. That's it. Let me know how your test went. Okay, that's it. Let me drink some water as well because I am kind of thirsty. Alright, next up, when I create a window, now let me go ahead and use the SDL underscore create window and render it to, okay, function. Guys, these function names are so big. There we go. With a pair of parentheses, and now for my SDL underscore create window and renderer, I'll require 4 parameters. The first parameter is going to be a caption for my window, so I'm going to go with something like SDL3 window created. Okay, and then I'll go with a comma. Now I'll need a width for my window and a height for my window. Maybe I'll go with something like 1000 by 1000, guys. And then I'm going to go ahead and add another comma for my flag. Let's see, my flag is going to be something like SDL underscore window underscore resizable. My window is going to be resizable. Then I'll add a comma. Now let's go ahead and give my window variable and my render variable by reference. So I'll go with something like an ampersand or address of operator for my window variable. Okay, you're a kind programmer. Honestly, I do appreciate you. It's perfect. That actually means so much to me, guys. Next up, I'll go with an ampersand of, let's say, renderer as well, ending with a semicolon. Actually, let's go ahead and end the semicolon here. There we go. Okay, now that I've created my window and my renderer, let's check if it did, initialize properly, and if this did return 0. Okay, let's go ahead and add an if statement for that. Honestly, guys, my bad. If it didn't return 0. So I'll go with something like a exclamation for window if my window variable is not 0, if something went wrong, or if my renderer variable is not 0, it went wrong. I'm going to do something. I'll go with a pair of curly braces, then inside of my if statement, firstly, I'm going to check what went wrong. So I'll throw myself an error. So I'll go with a standard C error with an insertion operator. That says a big name, guys. This is so long. I'll go with something like SDL underscore create window and renderer. Okay, error. Okay, and then I'm going to add another insertion operator that goes with something like SDL underscore get error. This gets the error that I'm looking for with another insertion operator of a standard end line ending with a semicolon. What are you making? Honestly, I'm just basically learning SDL3 using C++. That said, if my window or renderer didn't, something wrong happened when they were trying to initialize, firstly, I'm going to quit my SDL. So I'll go with SDL underscore quit that exits my whole SDL. And then I'm going to go ahead and return one saying something went wrong. Okay, perfect. Next up, let's go ahead and honestly create an array of objects this time. So Sensei/ChatGPT said me to create 3 objects. What up, guys? So I'll need to create 3 objects. So maybe first I add a comment that says something like create shapes. Okay, maybe I'll go with Rex because I'm just creating Rex. Okay, now to create my array of Rex, firstly, I'm gonna go with something like SDL underscore frect with a pair of parentheses. Actually, I don't think I'm going with a pair of parentheses for my rect. Okay, I might actually just go with something like Rex. Okay, with a pair of square brackets, I'm going to be adding 5 here. My array is going to be consisting of 5 Rex ending with a semicolon. Okay, now I gotta, excuse me guys, now I gotta fill in the Rex. Maybe I go with something like equal to a pair of curly braces. Okay, and then go ahead and end that. Okay, perfect. Now let's go ahead and create my Rex. So, should I go with something like, my Rex at index of 1, maybe? I'll go with a pair of parentheses. Okay, and then give my Rex's x-axis, y-axis, width and height for my first Rex. So my x-axis is going to be something like, maybe, I'll go with something like 0, and let's say the y-axis is going to be something like 300. My width is going to be 50, and height is going to be 50. Actually, I'll go with something like 50 by 30, because they're all rectangles, they're not like squares. And then I'm going to add a comma, create my second rect. So I'm going to go with the x-axis to be something like maybe 30. I could go with something like 100. The y-axis is going to be something like 350. The width is going to be something like, I don't know, 30. The height is going to be 50. And then I'll go with another comma. Now let's create my third rectangle. This is going to be a medium size. Let's go ahead and get this in the center of my screen, since my screen is like my width of my screen and my height of my screen is like 1,000 and 1,000. So I'm going to go with 500. So I'll go with something like my x-axis is going to be 500, the exact center of my screen. The y-axis is going to be something like 500 as well, the exact center of my screen too. Okay, this is going to be medium, so I'll go with something like 80 by 70. Okay, and then I'm going to go with a comma. Now for my fourth rect, I'm going to be adding one rect at the center as well, but maybe a little lower. My x-axis, that's 500, that's 600. Maybe I'll go with something like 650. Okay, and my height, since this is 500, maybe I'll go with something like, that's 0, that goes with 500, that's 600. Maybe I'll go with something like 700. I think 650 is good. Okay, and then I'll go with something like 70 and 80 for the width and height. Okay, and then I'll add a comma. Now lastly, for my largest rectangle, I'm going to go with another pair of parentheses inside of my rect. Firstly, I'll go with something like, okay, I want this to be at the exact, maybe something like 300, the x-axis. The y-axis is going to be something like, I don't know, like, maybe 200, 300, 500, I think something like 200 or like 150. Okay, I'll go with something like 150, guys. It's so hard to come up with coordinates. One rect with 5 dimensions, or are you creating 5 rects with 4 attributes? I'm creating 5 rects with like 4 attributes. That said, let's go ahead and create the biggest rectangle. I'll go with something like 100 by 200. Whew, okay guys, that was a lot. Okay, now once I'm done creating the rects, let's go ahead and do something else. So I'm going to be creating, let's say, my game loop. So I'll add a comment that says something like game loop. For my game loop, firstly, I'm going to be creating a boolean variable called isRunning, which is going to be set to true, ending with a semicolon. Then let's create a event loop. So I'll go with something like SDL_event, which is going to be having a variable called event, ending with a semicolon. And then let's add a while loop. So I'll go with something like while, a pair of parentheses, while is running, while my program is running, or while my is running is set to true. I'm going to do something. I'm going to be adding a nested while loop with a pair of parentheses that checks for a poll event. So I'll go with something like SDL_poll event. Basically what poll event does is it checks what current event is going on, or like all the types of event that I'm going to be checking. Once all those events does and my inner while loop does exit as well. Although this is going to be having a parameter of my event, the parameter by reference, so it doesn't like actually check for a copy of my event, and it checks my actual event. And then I go with a pair of curly braces. Now inside of my while loop, firstly I'm going to be adding an if statement to check my event type. So I'll go with something like if, a pair of parentheses, let's say if my event.type equals to SDL_, let's say, let me just zoom out a bit, event_quit. If that is my event type, I'm going to go with a pair of curly braces that sets my is running boolean variable to be equal to false, ending with a semicolon. Now outside of my inner while loop, or my poll event while loop, okay, which ends all the way here, I'm going to add another comment that says something like fill screen. So I'm going to be filling my screen with maybe light blue or something. I'll go with something like fill screen. Okay, now to fill my screen, firstly, I'm going to be going with something like SDL_draw render. Actually, I think it was set render. Set render draw color. Guys, these function names are so big, I don't think I'll be able to like remember them in the long run. That's it. Maybe I will learn how to use the docs. That's it for my SDL_set render draw color. I'm going to be requiring few attributes. The first attribute is going to be my render variable that I created. The second attribute is going to be an RGB and a alpha, which is my opacity. Let's color my screen to be, let's say, something like a blue. So I'll go with something like 0, 248 and 255. That is the RGB color for like cyan. And my alpha is going to be set to 255 as well, which is technically 100% opacity. And then let's go ahead and end this with a semicolon. Okay. What up, guys? Did I do everything correct? RGB, RGB 0, 255 there. Guys, is something wrong here? I think I did everything correct. Renderer RGBA, renderer RGBA. I think it's correct. I think it's correct. Okay, next up, let's go ahead and add something like a SDL underscore howling today. Is that your potential name? I appreciate you joining the stream. That's it. I'll go with something like SDL underscore render clear. Okay, basically what the render clear does is it like clears my entire screen with like the set render draw colors colors. Here I'm going to be adding my render variable that did set these attributes to this render variable. And the second parameter that's going to be needing is my renderer's vector or my array. Okay, actually it won't need my renderer's array, my bad guys. I'm going to go ahead and end this with a semicolon. Now let's go ahead and add a comment that says something like graphics. This is where my graphics are going to be, all the stuff that I draw on my screen is going to take place. Firstly, what all graphics do I need? Let me think. What up guys? Okay, so the graphics that I might need is going to be something like SDL underscore maybe render fill rex. I think this was the function name. There we go. I usually use fill rect, but the reason I did use fill rex now because like I have an array and not like a single structure. I have an array of structures, and then I'm going to go with a pair of parentheses that fills my rex. So let's see what all parameters does it require. It requires my renderer variables as parameter, a constant frex rex, so my rex's name, and my counts. How many elements like how many elements are inside of my rex's array. So firstly, I'll give my render variable. Okay, and then let's go ahead and give my rex's array. Lastly, I'll go with 5 elements because my array has 5 elements. Ending, excuse me guys, with a semicolon. Okay, perfect. Okay, when I do SDL underscore render fill rex, I might have to go with something like SDL underscore set render set render draw color function. Okay guys, to actually set a color. Okay, perfect. And then I'll go with the parentheses. Now inside of my set render draw colors this function, firstly I'm going to be adding, let's say, a render variable, and then I'll set a color. Okay, I know everything did have to have like a different color. How do I add a different color? Maybe I'll go with the same colors and later I'll say how to like add a different color. That said, my color is going to be something like, I don't know, maybe red. So I'll go with something like 255.00, and the opacity / alpha is going to be 255. So it's at 100% opacity. Alright, and that's honestly pretty much it for my graphics. Now let's go ahead and add another comment that says something like present, because I'm going to be presenting it on my screen. Okay, to present, firstly, I'll go with something like SDL underscore render present. Okay, this presents my render on my screen with the variable of my renderer. Okay, this is going to be my renderer variable, ending with a semicolon. Alright, perfect. And then now, let me go outside of my while loop, add a comment that says something like cleanup. Okay, now, for my cleanup, firstly, I'm going to be destroying my window. So I'll go with something like SDL underscore destroy window. Okay, with a pair of parentheses that has a parameter of my window variable, which was set to a null pointer, ending with a semicolon. And then I'll go with something like SDL underscore quit with a pair of parentheses, ending with a semicolon as well. Lastly, I return 0, ending with a semicolon. And honestly, did I forget something here? Okay, I did add my quit. Alright, if I did Control S to save the code and run the command now, let's see what happens. Okay, so I did get this pop-up. Although for my rect, let's just shrink this a bit. Why do I just see one rect in my entire screen? Okay, maybe it says possible loss of data. Is it because I didn't use my recs properly, or is it because all my recs are set in like one place? Maybe because I did something wrong with my set render draw color. That is like for my first renderer. What up guys, I might actually ask that to ChatGPT. Okay, actually let's go with something like Control A, Control C, copy that. Let's get something /ChatGPT here. What up guys, there we go. And then let's go ahead and add that all the way there up till my J and then extend it here. Guys, I should like see like so it like covers the entire display. Okay, perfect. Let's zoom once more. Now let's go ahead and paste this, go with Shift Enter and say something like Sensei, I feel like I messed up question mark. I just see one red rectangle. Okay, and then I think I drink some water. I feel like I'm kind of dehydrated, guys. Okay, Twitch people, you did mess up and I can see exactly where your rectangles are not being created correctly. Okay, you wrote this, so I wrote 0, 350, 30. That's just a comma expression, not an initializer list. You basically told C++, hey, just evaluate some numbers and throw away the rest. It doesn't actually build a rectangle structure, just leaves you with a single number. And the rest is gone, that's why you see it. Okay, so we go with a pair of curly braces, and inside of the curly braces, I go with even more curly braces. Curly braces, not parentheses. Those braces create structure initializers, assigning values to I think I see. So where I messed up was I added like a pair of parentheses instead of a pair of curly braces. Hold up, guys. Let's go ahead and delete that, add that there, and then let's go ahead and add that here. Guys, I think it's going to take so long to actually... Wait, hold up, never mind. I don't think it's going to take that long. There we go. I'm going to go down, hit a backspace. Maybe go with Control Z. There we go. Let's hit backspace. Add a pair of curly braces. Delete that. Add curly braces. Okay, and then add the close curly braces there. Add a close curly braces here. Add one here as well. And lastly, let's go ahead and add a curly braces here as well. Okay, perfect. Now for hit Control S to save the code and run the command. Let's see what happens. Okay, so I get that. Alright, perfect. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Why do I see 6 squares? Wait, I think it's 5. Yeah, okay, perfect. I see 5 squares in the screen. If I extend it, it's still there. Okay, although I do want to like fix one thing. Let me go ahead and change this to be something like 800s height and 600s width. Okay, and whatever I see is above that. I think nothing is like above that. Let's change that to something like 350. Okay, maybe 250 works as well, and I'll change that to something like 400. Okay, and let's change that to something like, I don't know, maybe 50. Okay, now for hit Control S to save the code. This thing should look much better in the screen. There we go. So that's the first terminal, and that's the second terminal. Okay, perfect. Although I still do have like a small question. Let's go ahead and delete that. Go with a Control C, copy that. Let's get Sensei/ChatGPT back here. Let's paste it, go with Shift Enter and say something like Sensei, I feel like it works, ... That said, how do I add a different color for all of them? So for all of them, should I do it manually for everyone? Question mark. Let's see, make randomizer that created random size for the rect. Honestly, I haven't like learned how to use random stuff in like C++. That's it. I think it's related to something with the question mark or something. I didn't actually look much into it. That's it. I should actually look into it. That's exactly, people. Now you're thinking like a game dev. Yes, if you want render SDL_render fill recs, it paints all of them the same color because the renderer does not store color pre-rectangles like dipping one brush in one color and swiping across the whole canvas. If you want each color to its own, you'll have to draw them one at a time and set a different color for each one before filling it. I think I see. Okay, set render draw color, render fill, set render draw color. I think I see, guys. Okay, do you know how the debugger works? I still haven't figured that out, guys. I should actually figure out about the debugger because I think you guys did say me that's going to be really useful sometime. That said, every call to the SDL_set render draw color changes the brush color, and SDL_render fill rect applies it to one shape. Now, if you want practice efficiency, you could use a loop, okay, and an array of colors to assign them dynamically, but now you're doing it doing it manually helps you understand what happens in the render step by step. I think I see it. Honestly, it does make sense. I could like use an array as well to like loop and like add colors to it. That's it. Go ahead and implement multicolor version. I'll teach you how to animate them across the screen, and that's when things start to look like a real game. Okay, honestly, let me say something like, maybe next question. I could try that. Okay, learn how to debug instead of being a skid. Honestly, I should actually look into debugging. That's it. Good discipline first, speed later. Okay, good discipline first, speed later. You're starting to understand the renderer's rhythm. Color, drop, press and repeat. That's the heartbeat of every 2D game engine. Alright people, for your next practice, here's the task. Draw 5 rectangles, each a different color, position anywhere you like, then add one small rectangle that looks like the player, maybe a little square near the bottom center of the window. Your only goal is to make it visually balanced. You don't need animation yet. Just prove you can control color, position, and size when intent like a digital painter who commands every pixel. Okay, when you're ready, show me your code, and remember, a sword is useless in the hands of one who hesitates to strike. Okay, maybe let me read the instructions again. Each with a different color, position anywhere you like, then add a small rectangle that looks like it's the player, maybe a little square near the bottom. Okay, I think I see, guys. That's it. Let's go with controller. Let me start off by deleting everything. Now, firstly, let's go ahead and start off by maybe drinking some water. I feel like I'm dehydrated. Guys, I should be more hydrating. Like, I should be hydrating more. Okay, that said, let me start off by including a pair of ankle braces first. Let's say I want to include something like IO stream. Okay, next up, since I am going to be using, let's say SDL3, I'm going to be including SDL3 slash SDL.h. I'm assuming the H is like the SDL header files. And then let's go ahead and honestly, firstly, I'm going to be creating a main function. So I'll go with something like integer main, add a pair of parentheses, and then a pair of curly braces. Now, inside of my main function, whoops, hold up guys, there we go. Okay, inside of my main function, I'm going to be requiring a few parameters. Actually, 2 parameters. The first parameter is going to be an integer of argc. The second parameter is going to be a character's pointer of argv, which is an array. Okay, and then now let's go ahead and check if my SDL did not initialize properly, and if it did not initialize properly, I'm going to be throwing an error at myself. So I'm going to go with something like if, add a pair of parentheses. Let's go with something like if my SDL underscore init, with a pair of parentheses, my SDL underscore init underscore video. Honestly, this is like a boolean variable that returns 0 if like my SDL did initialize properly, and it does not return 0 if it did not initialize properly. Currently, my if statement says me if this did return 0 properly, but I'll add an exclamation here that says if my this thing did not return 0. I'm gonna go with a pair of curly braces that says something like a standard C error with an insertion operator. Okay, that is gonna say something like SDL underscore init error. Okay, so this is gonna give me an SDL underscore init error if my whatever this is, SDL underscore init, with a pair of parentheses of my SDL underscore init underscore video did not return 0. Then I'll go in a new line, add another insertion operator of my SDL underscore get error. This gets my error with a pair of parentheses, and then I'll add another insertion operator of a standard end line ending with a semicolon. Okay, and lastly, let's go ahead and return 1 honestly to like say something went wrong in this part. Next up, let's go ahead and add a comment that says something like create window and renderer. I'm going to be creating a window and renderer now. Let's title case that real quick. Hold up guys. There we go. So firstly, to create a window and renderer, I'm going to be creating 2 variables that is going to be set to null pointer, which are like a placeholder. The first is going to be for my SDL underscore window. I'm going to be adding an asterisk here for like a pointer to my window variable. That is going to be equal to something like null PDR ending with a semicolon. Okay, so that is set to like nothing for now. And then I'll go with something like SDL underscore, let's say something like renderer. Okay, with an asterisk for a pointer to my renderer variable as well, which is going to be set to something like null PDR for now, because like it's not set to anything. Okay, next up, now let's go ahead and use the SDL underscore, let's say something like create, excuse me guys, I don't want to barfing. Okay, so create window and renderer. Okay, so I use the SDL underscore create window and render function with a pair of parentheses. Now my create window and render function does require, let's say, 4 parameters. The first parameter is gonna be, let's go with something like my title. Let's say title is gonna be something like SDL3 window created successfully. There we go, and then I'll add a comma here. Next up, I'll go with the width and height of my renderer. So I could go with something like the width of something like, I don't know, maybe 800. The height is going to be, should I go with 800? I don't know, maybe I'll go with something like 1000's width. And the height is going to be something like 600, 700 maybe. I'll go with something like height of 700. And then I'll add a comma. Now I'm going to be adding my flag. So my flag is going to be, if it's 0, then like I can't like extend my window or anything. Although the flag that I will be adding is going to be something like SDL underscore window underscore resizable. So I'm able to resize my window. And then lastly, my fourth parameter is going to be these two variables that I set to null pointer here. So the first variable is going to be by their reference to. Jesus loves you. Honestly, I appreciate you, WSP. That actually means the world to me. That's it. I'm going to go with something like window. And then I'll go with a comma for something like my renderer as well. Okay, perfect. And then I'm going to go ahead and end this with a semicolon. Now, after I do create a window and a renderer, I gotta check if it did not create properly. To do that, I'll add an if statement. So I'll go with something like if a pair of parentheses. And now my window and my renderer are something like Boolean variables, which return 0 if like the window is created properly, or return 0 if the renderer is created properly, and it does not return 0 if like either one of them is like not 0, if that made any sense. Okay, that's it. I'll go with something like an exclamation of my window. So if my window did not return 0, or if my renderer variable did not return 0, I'm going to do something. I'll go with a pair of curly braces that does something. Let's see. Firstly, I'm going to go with something like a standard C error with an insertion operator. This is going to say me that like, whoops, you got an error. For that, I'm going to be adding a pair of double quotes that say something like SDL underscore create window and let's go with something like and renderer error. Okay, honestly, I feel like this is just a big function name. The reason I did like name this what I named it here is because I am checking for like my SDL underscore create window and renderer, if that made any sense. Like I added SDL underscore init error because this was called SDL underscore init. Because like later on when we read the function, it's like easier to know which part is actually wrong. That said, I'm gonna go with an insertion operator. My insertion operator is gonna be having something like SDL underscore get error. This gives me an error with a pair of parentheses, and then I'll add an insertion operator of a standard end line ending with a semicolon. Okay, now if an error did happen here, firstly I'm going to be exiting my SDL, so I'll go with something like SDL underscore quit with a pair of parentheses ending with a semicolon. The reason I did like end my SDL is because like if an error happens, I don't want my SDL to still be running in the background. Instead, I want it to quit itself. And then lastly, I'm going to be returning one saying that something went wrong here. Gotta check this code. Okay, and then next up, after my if statement, let's go ahead and add a comment that says to like create objects. So I'm gonna go with something like create objects. Honestly, I'll go with something like shapes because like I don't think these are objects because I didn't like use classes yet. That said, for my shapes, firstly, I'm gonna do something like SDL underscore, let's say something like frect. I'm gonna create a few floating point rects, which is gonna be called something like rects. It is gonna be stored in an array. I'm gonna go with something like, okay, so this is going to be something like an NPC type window that I create. I'm like actually thinking like my entire background is going to be cyan color. So 0, 248 and 255 will be the RGB for my background. And there are going to be about maybe like 5 rectangle NPCs at the left side. They're going to be black, and at the right side there's going to be one red NPC, or one red, which is going to be my player. So if I need something like 5 here and 1 here, that is going to be 6, guys. So let's go with something like my rect array consists of 6 elements, which is going to be equal to a pair of curly braces. Now, the mistake that I did last time was to use like a pair of parentheses. Instead, I'll use a pair of curly braces. And now, let's see what all parameters I need. Let me just actually hover over this. Okay, so Okay, doesn't say what all parameters do I need, although I do need like an x-axis, y-axis, width and height. Firstly, I'm gonna go ahead and create a x-axis for my rect. Let's say my first rect, so at index of 0. Should I like create 2 rects? Honestly, I could like create 2 rects. Let's go with something like enemy rect. Excuse me guys, I'll go with something like enemy rect is going to be consisting of 5 elements in it. The first enemy's x-axis is going to be at the top of my screen. Let's see what's the height. Since my height, since my height is 700, let's say the first is going to be somewhere around maybe, I don't know, 50. Okay, and then I'll add a comma. The width is going to be somewhere around 0. Okay, and now that's the x-axis, y-axis, the width. Okay, now I'm going to be adding the width. My width is going to be something like, I don't know, maybe 50. Height is going to be something like 50 as well, honestly. Okay, so it's going to be, maybe I'll go with 70, because like height, I want that to be longer, so I'll go with something like 70 and 50. Guys, I feel like I'm like way too, whatchamacallit, I think, I forgot the actual word for it. I think it's like, I'm way too picky when it comes to like picking the perfect interior or like exterior for like my game. That said, my second NPC is gonna be, let's say, 20 pixels lower than my current one. Maybe I'm gonna go with something like 70, okay, and then they're gonna be the same size, 70, 0, let's go with something like 70, and 50. Okay, so that's the x-axis, that's the y-axis, that's the y-axis, that's the width, and that's the height. I'm gonna add a comma, go with another pair of curly braces, 70, 80, 90. Okay, so the next one's position is gonna be at 90. Okay, and then I'm going to change this to 0. Let's go with something like 70 and 50. Okay, and then I'll go with another pair of curly braces. This is going to be 110, 0, 70, and 50. Okay, okay, so I go with x-axis, y-axis, width and height. That's my x-axis, that's my y-axis, that's my width, and that's my height. Now, lastly, I'll go with the final pair of curly braces. That is going to be something like 130 x-axis, y-axis is going to be 0, and then I'll go with something like 70 and 50. Okay, perfect. Let's go ahead and end my entire array with a semicolon. Now, I'm going to be creating another SDL underscore F rect called something like player rect. Okay, and honestly, my player rect, what up guys? Let's add a space here. There we go. Okay, and honestly, my player rect isn't going to be an array, so I'm going to end that with a semicolon firstly, and setting my parameters. I'll go with something like player rect dot x-axis is going to be, okay, let's see my x-axis now. So my initial my width, that is set to 1000, so maybe my x-axis is going to be 1000, because I want them to like be touching, maybe something like 950. I'll go with something like 950. I want some space. Okay, next up, for my y-axis, my height, that is 700. What is half of 700? What is 700 divided by 2, guys? I think it's 350. 350 plus 350 is 700. Okay, so I'm gonna go with something like my player rect. Okay, dot y-axis is going to be something like 350, ending with a semicolon. And then I'll go with width and height. So I'll go with something like player rect dot width is going to be equal to something like maybe 70, ending with a semicolon. Lastly, I'll go with something like player rect dot height is going to be something like 50, ending with a semicolon as well. That was a lot, guys. Okay, that said, now with that out of the way, let's go ahead and add another comment that says something like game loop for my game loop. Firstly, let's go ahead and create a boolean variable called is running, which is going to be set to true initially, and then I'll create an event variable as well. So I'll go with something like SDL underscore event to check what event type is currently going on. This is going to be called event, ending with a semicolon. And now let's go ahead and add a while loop. So I'll go with while a pair of parentheses. Let's do something like while is running, while my program is running, or while my is running is set to true, I'm going to do something. I'll go with a pair of curly braces, and inside of my pair of curly braces, I'm going to be adding another while loop for this event variable to check what event is currently going on. So I'll go with something like another while loop with a pair of parentheses that is going to be having something like SDL underscore poll event. poll event basically checks the current event that's going on. Once like all the events are done, the poll event does end. I'll go with a pair of curly braces that takes my event variable by reference, so I don't like work with a copy of my events. That said, I'll go with a pair of curly braces. Now inside of my while loop, I'm going to be doing something. I'm going to be adding a if statement to check currently what event is going on, what event type it is. Okay, actually I'll check for a specific event type. So I'll go with if a pair of parentheses. Let's say if my event variable dot type equals to pygame dot, what up guys, SDL underscore event underscore quit. I'm going to do something. I'll go with a pair of curly braces. If my this events type is quit, I'm going to be setting my is a running boolean variable to be equal to false, ending with a semicolon. Okay, that ends my entire while loop, because my while loop only runs if my is running is set to true. That said, now outside of my while loop, I'm gonna go ahead and firstly fill my screen. So what color do I want to fill my screen with? Honestly, I'll fill it with like a good sign color. So I'll go with a comment that says something like fill screen. For my fill screen, let's go ahead and add or like write the function called something like SDL underscore set render draw color. Draw color, there we go, with a pair of parentheses. And then now my set render draw color does require 3 parameters. Actually, I think it requires like 5 parameters. The first is going to be my render variable that I created all the way up here. Okay, so let's go ahead and add that. I'll go with something like render, comma, now only RGB, which is my red, green, and blue. That's basically type of colors. If you guys do know what RGB means. The RGB for cyan is going to be something like 0, 248, and 255. And then lastly, I'll need an alpha, which is my opacity, how visible the object is going to be. I'm going to set 255. I want my opacity to be 100. Okay, and then let's go ahead and end this with a semicolon. And next up, now let's go ahead and clear my screen with that color. So I'll go with something like SDL underscore render clear. Okay, the render clear function, there we go. Okay, now I'm going to clear my render variable, which has like these attributes set to it, ending with a semicolon. Okay, now that I've filled my screen, let's go ahead and draw my objects. Basically, it is also called graphics, so maybe I'll go like in a new line and add a comment that says something like graphics. For my graphics, I'm going to be doing something. Firstly, I'm going to hydrate my lips up real quick. I think it's really dehydrated, guys. Hold up. Okay, perfect. Alright, next up, firstly, for my graphics, I honestly, should I like, okay, wait, let me actually use the SDL underscore render filled, or render filled, like, was it like fill rex? I'll go with something like the fill rex's function. Okay, I think it is render fill rex. There we go, guys. These function names are so big or like so long, how to remember them. That said, I'm going to be using the render fill rex's function. This requires 3 arguments. Let's see the arguments. First argument is going to be my render variable. The second is going to be my SDLFREX. That's basically this. SDLFREX is array, that is enemy rex. And the third is going to be my count. How many items are there inside of my array? So let's do that. Firstly, I'm going to need my render variable. So I'll go ahead and add that. Next up, I'll need my array's name, or like what I'm trying to fill, my enemy rex. Okay, so I'll go ahead and call that something like enemy rex. Okay, and lastly, count. My array consists of 5 elements, ending with a semicolon. And then let's go ahead and fill all those elements. So I'll go with something like SDL underscore, let's say something like maybe render clear. I'll go with something like render clear with a pair of parentheses. Wait, should I go with something like draw rect or something? Okay, I think I might go with something like SDL underscore set render draw color. Hold up, guys. I might go with something like SDL underscore set render draw color function, and I won't need this function. Let's change that to color. Okay, I won't be needing this function. Now, for my set render draw color, the first parameter is going to be my render variable. The second RG and B is going to be something like 0, 0, 0, which is technically black. Lastly, I'll go with 255 for my opacity. I want my, my rectangles, or like my objects, my rectangle objects, to be completely non-transparent. Okay, perfect. This is something like graphics. Maybe I had another comment here that is like indented and it says something like enemy graphics. Okay, perfect. Next up, let's go ahead and add my player graphics. So I'll add a comment that says something like player graphics. Guys, I like to add comments. It's not like necessary to like add them, but I feel like it does sound like really cool when you go ahead and read our code again. I feel like I am going to be deleting this code once I'm done with this, so like there's no point, but I feel it is a pretty good habit to add comments. And that said, I'll go with the SDL underscore set render draw color function with a pair of parentheses, which does require a parameter of render, of course, and then I'll need RGB. Okay, let's say my object is going to be red, so I'll go with something like 255, so I'll go with 255.00. And my opacity is going to be 255, which is, whatchamacallit, completely transparent. That's the RGB for like, red. And then I'll do something like SDL underscore render fill rect. Okay, and the reason I went with rex and not rex like here, I went with just one rect without an S is because, my player rect is not an array like my enemy rex, because like for arrays you go with something like fill rex, and like for a single object or like for a single structure you go with like fill rect, if that made any sense, guys. Okay, for this I'm gonna go with something like my renderer, and then I'll go with the reference of my, let's say, player rect structure. Okay, ending with a semicolon. And then lastly, let's go and add another comment that says something like present. I'm going to present the whole thing on my screen. To present it, I'll go with something like SDL underscore render present. Okay, with a pair of parentheses, with my render variable, ending with a semicolon. Now, once I'm done with all this, let's go outside of my while loop and let's go ahead and add a comment that says something like cleanup. This is going to be cleanup once my while loop ends, or once my player clicks the X to like quit my game. Firstly, I'm going to destroy my window, so I'll go with something like SDL underscore destroy window function with a pair of parentheses. This is going to be my window variable, okay, ending with a semicolon. And then I'll go with something like SDL underscore, I don't know, maybe quit. I'm going to quit my SDL, ending with a semicolon as well. Lastly, let's go ahead and return 0, ending with a semicolon. Now, if I hit Control S to save the code and run the command, let's see what happens. Guys, why do I just see like one rect there? Hold up, guys. Maybe something was wrong with my arrays. Let me check that up real quick. Okay, that's the exact. Oh wait, maybe because all of them like are zeros. Why are they all zeros? Did I change it to be zeros on purpose? What up, guys? Let's change that to something like 20. Let's change the y-axis to be something like, I don't know, maybe 40. Let's change that to be 60. Let's change that to be 80. Okay, and let's keep all these to be 50. I should have changed the, oh, I see. I should have changed like the y-axis, but I like changed the x-axis, and my bad, guys. There we go. Let's change all of them to be 50. The y-axis is going to be the same. The x-axis is going to be the same. The y-axis is going to be the only thing that changes. If I were to run the code again, let's get that there. Guys, isn't like... What up? Where is 50? That is 50. When I go lower, am I going higher or something? Maybe instead of going with 0, let me go with something like x-axis. That's y-axis, right? That's the height. I might go with something like 650, or like, let's go with 700. Let's go with 680. Okay, then let's go with 80, 70, 60. Let's go with 660, 60, 50, 40. Let's go with something like 640. And then let's go with 620. Okay, I think that should work. I think that should work, guys. If I hit Control S to save the code now and run the command, let's see what happens. Okay, now they're at the complete bottom, guys. That does not make any sense. Hold up. Maybe I go ahead and cancel that. What am I messing up here? Their sizes? I'm pretty sure it's not their sizes. Their x-axes? Let's try changing one's x-axis to be 300. I just want to test what happens, guys. Hold up. If I did control S to save the code and run the command. Day 6 of asking why you gay guys. I'm actually not gay. There we go. Okay, that works, guys. Hold up. So I did the stuff connect. I just gotta position it correctly now. That is 300. I want to get it up. Okay, if I change the 300 to something like 0, where would that get me? If I were to save the code and run the command. Okay guys, I was correct all along. Let's change this to something like get it all the way there. Okay, so instead of going with 300, I'll go with something like 50. Now if I were to save the code and run the command. Okay, that's the first terminal, that's the second terminal. Okay, that part is correct. Now, let's change the second one to, why is this 620? Okay, I'm going to be changing that to something maybe like 20. Would that change anything? If I did control S to save the code and run the command. Okay guys, why do I just get 1? Why do I have 2 squares on the screen? Huh. Hold up guys, give me a sec, let me try figuring this out real quick. Instead of going with 50, I'll go with 300 here now. If I were to save the code and run the command, let's see what happens. Guys, apparently when I change it to like a 300, I get a third box up here. Okay, so now I'm looking at this circle, right? So this circle is gonna go maybe 20 more pixels lower to the left. Okay, let's try that. So 20 more pixels lower, which is gonna be something like 40, I don't know. Maybe I'll go with 50. Okay, and instead of 300, I'll go with something like 50. And now if I did control S, guys, there's so many trial and errors here, what? Okay, if I went to 300, it does make like a big line. So let's change this 50 to something like 70. Okay, that should fix things, right? Okay, there we go, that did fix things. Okay, perfect. Okay, I think I see what that means now. So that is 0, that is 70. Let's change to something like 140. So I gotta give like 70 pixel space. What is 140 plus 70? I think it's going to be like 210. Okay, and this is going to be 280. Okay, now if I were to hit Control S to save the code, this should fix everything, guys. Perfection and a cup, guys. Okay, now I just want to get them lower. So let's change the x-axis of everything. So, I mean the y-axis. So I want to get it lower, right? Okay, so it would be much easier if I had this up there. Although, let's copy this part. Okay, and then delete it from here. Let's go ahead and paste it all the way there. Okay, so I see a 0 here. I want to go like from the lowest to like the greatest. So wait, let's change that to something like 70. Change that to 280. Okay, change this to 140. Change that to 210. Okay. Now let's change everything slightly to like modify something, guys. Instead of keeping this to be 0, I'm going to change this to be maybe 140. Okay, let's change this to be 210. Let's change this to be 280. What is 280 plus 70, guys? I think it is 70, 60, 50. I think it's 350. Okay, and then what is 350 plus 70? That's going to be, I think, 420. Okay, I think that should be somewhere in the center of the screen, guys. I'm really punctual when it comes to my looks. Okay, there we go. That looks like good little NPCs. Maybe I get them all to be at zeros. No, I think that's good. I think that's good. Let's just get my player a bit higher. So my y-axis, instead of going with 350, I'll go with 300. Okay, and honestly, I think that should like be pretty much it. There we go. So like the one NPC, maybe a little higher. So instead of 300, I'll go with something like 250. That's gonna get it somewhere here. Okay, let's go with 250. Now if I did Control S to save the code and run the command. Okay, you know what, guys? I'll actually take this. This looks pretty good. Okay, let's go with something like a Control-A. So Control-A, Control-C. Let's copy that. Now let's get some Say// ChatGPT here. Let's go ahead and paste that. Go with Shift. Actually, let's just send it. And then I hydrate my lips up, guys. Okay, yes, people, this is solid. You're thinking like a 2D engine now. Look at that, multiple objects at once. Enemy shapes in a group, player shape separate, perfect separation of concerns. The way you used SDL underscore vendor fill recs for the enemies is efficient, and the player's red rec stands out exactly how it should. Wipe coding, honestly, I'm actually not wipe coding. I'm just using Sensei slash ChatGPT to learn how to code, honestly, because I did like actually run that on my own stuff. That's the next step. If you want to really master this, give me each rectangle a different color. Oh, that's going to be really tedious, guys. Okay, don't just go black, make them visible distinct. That will force you to handle multiple colors at once while still using the arrays. Okay, do that and you're going to feel the power of controlling your digital battlefield. Okay, it's honestly easy to give them different colors. So instead of going with fill recs, I could just go with fill rect and then remove this parameter from here. I'll go with something like the memory address, or like this thing with a pair of square brackets of, let's say, 0. Okay, if that made any sense, guys. I don't honestly think that made any sense. That said, instead of going with SDL underscore render fill recs, I went with rect now because I'm going to be adding a color for every different rect. So I'll copy that just to save some time, paste it here, maybe like 5 times because I do have 5 recs. Let's go ahead and paste that here. So that's like 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll paste it one more time, guys. There we go. Guys, I feel this looks like a whole code slot. Okay, that said, now instead of going with black, the first color is going to be something like let's say green. So I'll go with 255. The second is going to be gray. I'll go with something like 200, and then I'll go with something like 200 and 200 here as well. Okay, the third color is going to be, let's say, brown. Do I remember the RGB for brown? I think it was 248, 0, and 255. I think that was it for brown. Guys, I don't remember RGB colors memorized. That said, lastly, I'll go with something like blue. So I'm going to change this to 255. Hold up, guys. That wasn't last. Okay, never mind, it was. Now, if I hit Control S to save the code and run the command, let's see what happens. Okay. Alright, guys, where did my circles go? I don't know why I feel SDL is quite complex. I think it's kind of easy actually once we understand the concepts. I feel like SDL is almost the same as spy games because like I did start SDL 3 days ago. The first day I got overwhelmed. The second day I started understanding it, and today is the third day where I'm trying to actually learn it much better. Hey bro, where are you from? Your accent sounds much American. I think, guys, that gives it away. That said, whatchamacallit, I did like stop saying you guys from where I was from because like many of you guys did say me to avoid saying that. That said, hold up, guys, was that like lagging my stream, keeping that window open? I think it was. Is my stream still lagging? Okay, it's not lagging. I think it was just the window that was making it lag. That said, let's see what happened. Okay, where did all my recs go, guys? Oh, hold up, guys, my bad. This is going to be at index of 1. That's going to be at index of 2. This is going to be at index of 3. That's going to be at index of 4. Lastly, that's honestly pretty much it, actually. And now if I hit Control S to save the code and run the command, let's see what happens. There we go, guys. I hope this doesn't lag my screen, my my stream again. It's not lagging. It's not. I thought it was just, okay, I think it was just me. There we go, guys. 4 different colors of rectangles this time. Okay, perfect. Let's go with something like a Control C, get Sensei slash ChatGPT here. Guys, I think that actually did it. Wait, did I cancel ChatGPT? Okay, wait, let me open it again. Let's get the chat. Let's go with the chat there. Okay, now let's get Sensei slash ChatGPT here. Let's go with something like projects. Okay, and then extend it all the way there up to the main. And then increase it all the way from here as well. Okay, now let me just honestly paste this here. Go with Shift Enter. And let's hit Enter actually. Okay, yes, people, now we're talking. Look at that. Each enemy has its own color. That's exactly how you take control of the screen. Your brain is finally starting to think in rectangles and colors. The player in red still pops out. Perfect visual hierarchy. Next step to level up, think about making it dynamic. Right now, you manually set colors one by one. You should use an array of colors and loops through both your rectangles and colors. That's how real engines do it. Scalable, clean, and insane for your workflow. You want me to throw that challenge at you? Honestly, guys, I feel like I might actually end the stream right now because I do got an exam this Monday and I do got to study for that. That said, maybe next stream I will go over drawing drawing shapes as well, because I feel like there are many more shapes that I do need to draw. I feel like I mastered drawing like Rex this stream. That's it. I'll say something like Sensei. Honestly, it does sound pretty pretty fun. That said, I feel like I might have to end the stream right now because I do have an exam next Monday. So before I end the stream, is there anything that you want to say to the viewers? Question mark. Guys, I had like way less typos than I expected. That said, listen up pupils, tonight you saw some serious magic rectangles colors and your brain starting to think like an engineer. The journey to mastering SDL3 is just beginning, and remember, every time you struggle to get a rectangle to show up, you're getting stronger. Exams might be coming, but know this, the same focus you put into coding will kill that exam. Push, struggle, learn, and come back even harder next time. People, you did great today. Now go crush that exam. Hugs, kisses, and a head pap for all of you who followed along. Guys, that did not make you guys blush. That said, we'll be back with more rectangles, colors, and user inputs tomorrow, ready to dominate. That's it. Keep going. I appreciate you. WYD. That's it. Let me go to my main camera. There we go. Alright guys, so basically that was pretty much it for the stream. That's it. I did want to stream for longer. Maybe once my exams are over and like my college is over, I will like stream like for longer, maybe about 6 hours a day. That was pretty much it for this stream. Maybe next stream I will go over drawing shapes again, because this stream I feel like I just worked on rects and not circles. That's it. If you guys did enjoy the stream, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Like helps with my algorithm, sharing makes you smile, and subscribing is like a cherry on top. And guys, since my stream lag, since my stream lag did get fixed because I did like build the PC that I will be uploading the video ASAP as soon as I'm done editing it. That did fix all my stream lag, so I did start multi-streaming on Twitch, Kick, YouTube, and I will be trying to multi-stream on TikTok and Instagram as well if I did meet the followers requirement. So if you guys do enjoy my content and haven't followed me there, make sure to follow me. Their link is in the description, and also join the Discord server. You guys can get access to my Discord server and socials by looking in the description, because like I did like add them in my description. That's it. I feel like Nightbot is kind of messed up. It's not just me, it's like multiple other streamers as well. They've been saying like the Nightbot isn't actually working properly. Once Nightbot does get fixed, you guys could get access to my socials by typing exclamation and that socials name in chat. That's it. I'll catch you guys in the next live stream or video. Peace.